Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're diving straight into something absolutely fascinating: how one single British musician managed to lay down a cultural blueprint that literally defined multiple generations. Yep, we're talking about the iconic Paul Weller, widely known as the Modfather, and his legendary band, The Jam. Let's start with a pretty wild paradox. Back in 1977, critics honestly thought the Jam's debut album, In the City, was just this cynical 1960s parody. I mean, it even included a cover of the Batman theme. Right in the middle of a massive cultural shift, the press was just super eager to write them off as a total novelty act. But against all odds, they were about to completely reshape music history. You can really see this tension in a famous BBC interview. When a journalist tried to corner Weller, accusing him of just copying the past, he offered this brilliant defense. He flat out said, "No, we are not copying ideas, we are using ideas. It's part of our heritage, you know?" He wasn't mimicking, he was claiming his inheritance. And that single response, it pretty much established the core thesis for his entire career, and actually sparked a whole nationwide movement. So, to understand exactly how Weller went from being accused of mimicry to earning the title of the Modfather, we're going to track this massive ripple effect across 5 quick chapters: claiming the cultural past, the all-mod cons era, a continental style shift, the blueprint for Britpop, and finally, the Modfather's legacy. All right, Chapter 1, claiming the cultural past. So, picture 1977 Britain. It was a tired, really threadbare place, dealing with severe economic struggles, massive youth unemployment, and just widespread social exhaustion. And in that cultural battlefield, there was this stark dividing line. While punk bands, like the Sex Pistols, wanted to basically burn down the past in an act of total rebellion, the Jam did something totally unique. They wanted to resurrect the past by hailing British music heroes. Sure, they shared some of that raw musical DNA with punk, but their fundamental goal? Completely different. Now, navigating this era was definitely complex. The Jam claimed their cultural inheritance despite some serious political friction. See, they displayed Union Jacks on stage right at a time when that flag was being co-opted by extreme factions, which led some in the music press to label them right-wing. But the Jam stood their ground as outliers. They firmly declared they were against both fascism and communism, insisting that, at the end of the day, their movement was just about the music, their Rickenbacker guitars, and their Lumbretta mopeds. Moving right along to Chapter 2, the all-mod cons era. Let me tell you, 1978 was a massive make-or-break moment for the band. After coming back from a pretty dispiriting American tour, Weller was hit with terrible writer's block. His label actually rejected his new songs, and the band was literally inches from ending up on the scrap heap. But instead of throwing in the towel, Weller dug deep. He fought back and created All Mod Cons, a total masterpiece of social commentary that truly ignited their legacy. And the result was incredible. The album is just packed with these brilliantly detailed vignettes of down-at-heel British life. You've got the harrowing story of casual violence in Down in the Tube Station at Midnight, a really sharp dissection of public schoolboy privilege in their cover of David Watts, and then English Rose, a piece of acoustic patriotism so intensely personal that Weller actually left the lyrics off the sleeve. These tracks proved, without a doubt, that Weller was the voice of a generation, perfectly balancing that brutal punk energy with Bruce Foxton's incredibly nimble bass lines. Okay, Chapter 3, a continental style shift. Now, you can't talk about Weller's musical evolution without talking about his wardrobe, right? It is fascinating to see how he just refused to stagnate. He was continuously updating his look, moving from his trademark feather cut and sharp-tailored suits as a youth to a much softer, more European silhouette in the 80s, and then later to this organic, countryside-influenced denim aesthetic. He was constantly evolving, but he never lost that core identity. Actually, this banding the Jam at their absolute peak in 1982 led directly into his next big project, the Style Council. And notice this huge pivot. He drastically traded all that urban British angst and those sharp black punk mod suits for continental sophistication. We're talking soul music, relaxed European cafe culture flair. Bring on the linen jackets, knitted polos, and loafers. It was a bold move that showed he absolutely refused to be boxed in. Which brings us to Chapter 4. The blueprint for Britpop. If we fast forward to the mid-1990s, Weller's initial, kind of controversial philosophy had exploded into a full-blown nationwide phenomenon. While he stepped into this role as the elder statesman of the 90s, heavyweight bands like Oasis and Blur were directly borrowing his ethos, that whole idea of celebrating the 60s British invasion. And honestly, even modern acts today, like the Arctic Monkeys or Idols, can trace their DNA right back to the musical foundation that Weller laid down. But what's really striking here is the sheer contrast in authenticity. Think about it. Cool Britannia in the 90s was this glossy, prosperous PR juggernaut, completely fueled by a booming economy. But the Jam? They did it first, and honestly, they did it better. With this tough, authentic verve, and they did it when it was highly unpopular, in an economically exhausted, struggling 1970s Britain. And finally, Chapter 5, The Modfather's Enduring Legacy. So what can we take away from all this today? Well, there are some pretty solid life and style lessons here. The importance of evolution within tradition, prioritizing quality over quantity, really trusting your own personal style, and adapting appropriately as you age. He proved that you can honor tradition without it turning into a costume. It's a philosophy he executes perfectly to this day, rocking his silver hair and smart casual outerwear. He didn't just chase trends, he trusted his own taste. And hey, if you ever doubt his impact, just consider this insane stat. After the Jam split up at their peak in December 1982, the very next week, every single one of their singles recharted in the UK top 75. All of them. It's a perfect illustration of his godlike status in the UK. His fiercely loyal fanbase followed him from angry punk right through soul and into a solo career that is still thriving more than 4 decades later. Now, since a lot of American listeners never quite got the chance to fully experience the whole arc of this highly influential icon while it was all happening, my final question to you is this. Are you ready to finally dive into Weller's catalog? Because let me tell you, the water is the perfect temperature. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and definitely keep listening.